Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a beautiful Memorial Day and you enjoyed the nice weather if you had some, or just enjoyed having a day off. We are here, though, today because a sociologist, which when I was in college, I did take a sociology class, which I enjoyed highly. But a sociologist explains why so many DV survivors are discrediting Amber Heard. So, as we know, Amber Heard's reputation has suffered tremendously during her ongoing legal battle with ex-husband Johnny Depp, with her every move being scrutinized by millions. I know I am one of them as well. The $1 million defamation suit has brought up a lot of conversations all over social media for the past month, with Johnny appearing to garner greater sympathy than Amber, when even though both parties have made some serious allegations of abuse against each other. Johnny has sued Amber for $50 million over a 2018 article where she helped work with the Washington Post, in which Amber said that she was a DV survivor, while Amber, who is countersuing him for $100 million, did not name Johnny in this article. His lawyers have argued that it was obvious she was referring to him. Now, the sociologist has dove into the reaction towards Miss Amber Heard, many other DV survivors, and why so many have said they do not believe Heard. Dr. Nicole Bedera, a sociologist who studies sexual violence among people, began in a lengthy Twitter thread this week, and we're going to take a look at that. So the first one is this, and it says, if you're following the Depp trial, you have probably seen a lot of women saying some version of, I am a survivor and a real survivor. I can tell you that you shouldn't believe Amber Heard. Why is this happening? A thread. So, here begins the long thread. And don't worry, I will read all this. I didn't realize it looked so zoomed out when I took the screenshots. So it says, first, it's worth noting that survivors are a heterogeneous group. Perpetuants do not pick victims based on their political beliefs, and experiencing violence is not always a rationalized event for women. I conducted my discretion work in a conservative state, and there were a lot of conversation victims who insisted that I should believe them, but not other women. One even emailed me a Jordan Peterson video to try to convince me to write a victim-blaming dissertation. These women are particularly likely to express anger at other women who speak out because they are ruining my credibility. Survivors who hold these ideologies are particularly likely to be elevated by groups like men's right activists. They see sexist women as legitimizing their movement as not about gender and not about hate. There's a reason so many of the MRA groups who focus on college sexual violence, for example, are, at least symbolically, headed by women. And there are women happy to take on that role, especially if it confers them some privileges and protection in the usually white heteroplasticariation. I think I butchered that. Oh my God. It's a heteroparticular archery. These big words that these doctors use. Yeah, I know I butchered that. It's all good though. So we move on, and the next set of this thread, it's another lengthy one, says there are a lot of gendered tropes of acceptable, again white, femininity that center and emotionalized and empathized with men, like the cool girl trope, or the idea that a good mother will defend her son from the consequences of a R allegation, even if she believes he's guilty. The type of femininity is very much on display right now, and the women who engage in it do get tangible rewards, even if they don't get equality, such as being the one victim a misogynist believes was really hard. There's another problem at play, too. Survivors who experts in their experience, but not necessarily all experiences of gender-based violence, and some begin to rank other survivors' stories based on how similar they are to their own. The tactic perpetuators use to perpetuate are varied and often reflect the privileges they and other victims hold. But survivors who hold dominant identities, i.e., whiteness, heterosexuality, can be quick to find can be quick to try to see their own privileged experience as universal. It's one of the reasons the benefits of the Me Too movement haven't necessarily extended to women of color or poverty, or working class women. The middle version of the movement really centered white, wealthy women's experiences. Okay, moving on to the next set of this thread. It's a very long one. I will link it down below so that you guys can see it in its entirety. I'm going to read its entirety, but if you want to take a better look at it, I will link it below for you guys. So now this one says, and if you'd like to do something to change that, support Taryn Burke's original Me Too organization. The work is much, much more intersectional and focused on providing tangible aid to survivors. Yay, someone doing something smart and amazing. Not that they're not. I just feel like men should have a say as well as women, that not all women are DV'd or essayed, that men can be too as well. And they are needing to tell their story. They need to come out as well. So I'm very happy that this site exists, and this movement is much more than the Me Too movement that, you know, symbolizes white, wealthy women that have been essayed or DV'd. It's everybody in a whole, men, women of any level of money, per se, just to be a survivor and tell their story and make it known that there is more out there for them. But anyways, back to her thread. Of course, not all women speaking out against Amber Heard fit into either of these categories. There's another big reason that women try to distance themselves from high-profile survivors. It's based in something scholars call the just worldly theory. The simple version of the just worldly theory is that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. That the world is fundamentally just, and women watching high-profile trials are invested in believing that to be true. Now, the next set. We're almost done with hers, and we're going to move on to others. So here's the next set, and it says, it can be scary and for victims re-traumatizing for women to emphasize with an abused survivor. If violence really is everywhere and it feels like it can happen to anyone, then a lot of women will start to worry that they will be next. That's too much for a lot of people to hold, especially over the course of a long trial. To avoid the psychological toll, women will refocus their empathy on a perpetuator because it's easier to stomach. For more on this, I can't recommend Dr. Jacqueline Cruz's work enough. Again, I'll repeat that. For more information on this, she cannot recommend Dr. Jacqueline Cruz's work enough. So that way you guys can check that out as well. Women invested in just worldly theory are just particularly like to victim blame by pointing out what a victim could or should have done differently. They can convince themselves that they would never experience that kind of violence. It's one of the reasons that women juries are particularly likely to acquit in gender-based violent cases. Encounter intervenes, but it can feel like an act of self-preservation in the moment. So is it surprising that a lot of women are coming to Depp's defense? No, not at all. It's completely consistent with the academical literature on how many women respond to disclosures of violence, especially when they have some relationship to a perpetuator. I know. She likes to talk, but she has a very valid point. And the study of sociology is the study of how people interact in groups. It's a very interesting, put it this way, it was a very interesting course for me to take in college. And we did a lot of how people interact with others within college, but we also talked about things like this. And it was very interesting to learn. And if you do like learning more about this, I would say check it out for sure. So, not only do we see tweets from Nicole, I also have other tweets as well. So we have another Twitter user. Her name is E. Winters. And this tweet got more than 2,000 likes, which says, Amber Heard has lied under oath in BA for several days. She made a mockery of DV victims and survivors. Turd does not speak for me. Women, BPD, HPD, survivors in any capacity. She belongs in jail. Amber Heard deserves prison justice for Johnny Depp. Now, there are a couple of things that I do agree with this statement, and there are some that I just think maybe she shouldn't have said. And that's my opinion. And I understand her opinion as well. I do think that Amber Heard has lied under oath, especially for several days. I do feel like she's made a mockery of DV victims and survivors. I do feel like she does not speak for me as well, and I have stated this on Twitter as well. But I don't think she deserves to be in jail at this moment. Yes, it's not right for what she has done, but this is a defamation case. No one gets put in jail for a defamation case. Unfortunately, it's right now about the money, and that's a whole different lawsuit. So, unfortunately, that's that. We move on to another tweet by Lucy, the left, who added, I have been incredibly triggered watching Amber Heard speaking over the past 2 days. As a DV survivor, I expected it, but not in this way. It's just confusing. It doesn't feel right. She is telling a story. Abuse isn't a story. It's a list of traumas, which I also agree. I definitely felt like she was being an actor on the stand. And I felt like it wasn't her story, that it was maybe not like it was somebody else's, but it wasn't her story. It was a story with a lot of thought to it. And every time they would stop to object, she would continue right back on the story. And I always said, why are they just letting her speak her story? There were things that she didn't need to go on and on and on about, and they just let her go on and on about. And it didn't make any sense to me. But that's just my opinion, and that's Lucy's opinion. And I do agree with some of Lucy's opinion as well. Now, the next one is number 4, and this one is by Tori. And Tori says, as a female DV survivor, I tend to believe women when they say they are survivors. After watching the Depp first Heard trial for myself and not going by the media, I believe Johnny Depp. I agree very much with this statement, because I myself, as a DV survivor and an SA survivor, I always believe the women when they say that they're a survivor, or they've gone through DV, or they've gone through SA. I'm always willing to help if I can, lead them to resources that will get them out of situations, because I know what I've gone through, and I don't want anyone else to go through it. And after watching this trial myself and not going by the media, I do believe Johnny. I do. There is just something not right about how Amber testified and how she was after and before. When it was her counsel questioning her, she would do the breakdown and pretend cry because there was not one tear that came out that eye. But when the other side was crossing her, she was more angry, upset, She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to answer it. And she was very much, she didn't like Camilla, I can tell you that. And her and Camilla had a back and forth kind of thing where, listen, you need to stop talking when the judge says, when I say objection, Your Honor, and the judge needs to give her response, and you can't just keep going and going. And she was just like, okay. And she kept going after that. That wasn't the first time. That really bothered me. So I do agree very much with Tori's statement. Now, not only, I am going to show you a couple replies from Tori's tweet, because there was one in particular that I didn't really like. So here are these two tweets. And this one from the top is from Gail Brakely, who says, still need to look at the facts. Unfortunately, Depp profile is that of an abuser. Deep into drugs and alcohol, apologized at first. People may not like Heard, but the stories she tells is consistent with DV. Well, unfortunately, I have to respectfully disagree with this statement, but that's what makes it amazing that people have the freedom of speech. Gail's very entitled to her opinion, and I am as well. Now, I will say Amber's stories are not consistent at all. If she was essayed with a broken bottle, that would require medical attention, which she didn't seek. You would think a broken bottle would be so much damage down there, let alone the possibility of glass. You would need to go see an OBGYN. You would really need to get that checked out. Make sure the damage done did not injure any part of her. And usually damage like that would require maybe stitches and things like that, I would think. Johnny admits, though, he isn't perfect. And just because someone does drugs and are drinking alcohol does not mean he is violent or an abuser. Yes, there is a conception that people that do drugs and drink become abusive, but not all people are like that. There are some people, yes, that when they drink, they go crazy and they become very abusive. There are people that do drugs and they can become abusive, but not all people are like that. And to label him as an abuser just because he does drugs and alcohol, I think is wrong. Also, the other thing with not having consistent stories with Amber also showed pictures of incidents where they were two different occasions, though they were the same exact pictures to a T. To a T. I also think, she purposely went to the courthouse with a bruise on her face, and then the next day we don't see her have a bruise on her face. She is an actress. She did learn how to put on, bruise makeup and things like that. Her makeup artist did state that. Her acting coach did state that, yes, she might be a good actress, but she also cannot cry on cue. And that proved very relevant when she was on the stand and she tried to cry, but she couldn't. That is my opinion, though Gail's entitled to hers, and I understand. And I just feel like sometimes people see things one way and other people see things the other, and that's okay. But the next statement is where I totally kind of get pissed off. So it says, if you were abused, you probably deserved it, but you are lying anyways. Don't believe all women. Yeah, okay. I have a huge problem with this because, one, you don't know her. You don't know if she has had a case or reported it, has said it, and it's been proven that she has been essayed or DV'd. And just even with Amber, I too believed her at first. But the more and more evidence that came out, the more I saw the truth, in my opinion. And it was brought to light. You are supposed to always believe the victim. And I say victim, man or woman. You are always supposed to believe the victim. But I understand some people do lie for their own benefit. But those who do that will deal with the consequences later on in life. It is not right that people do that. It's not fair. It's not funny to lie and hurt others. But it happens, unfortunately. And just like with Amber, I believed her. I did until evidence was brought forward. And we saw the evidence. And these are people that make real DV and SA victims hard to come forward, or scared to show what they've been through, or show like they don't want to come forward because they're afraid that people are going to call them a liar. There are way more than half that are not lying. Way more. So if you don't believe a victim, man or woman, when they say that, you might be stopping them from getting the help that they need. If they're lying, their consequences will come. Karma is a bitch, and karma will pay. It's like, forget the saying, and Empress always tells me the saying, if you put one out, if you put bad into the world, it'll come back tenfold. It's something like that. So by them lying about being DV'd or SA, it will come back to them tenfold. Unfortunately, it sucks that people do this out of revenge or to hurt others. I find it's very wrong. But unfortunately, it happens in this world. And there's not really much we can do to stop it. The only time we can stop it is when reports are done. These women do seek medical attention, and men, after having things happen to them, taking pictures, recording evidence, and calling the police. When it happens, call the police. Make that report. I know some people it's hard, and some people think that, they deserve the abuse, but they don't. They don't. And I know I'm babbling on. So let's move to the next one, which is actually more from Nicole. Nicole Bedera. And it says, it's one of the reasons that women juries are particularly likely to acquit in gender-based violent cases. It's counterintuitive, but it can feel like an act of self-preservation in the moment. Now, that just goes back. This is the same thread, but these are more important now. Now, this is the last thread. And like I said, I will list it in my description so that way you can go back and check this out. So it's surprising that a lot of women are coming to Depp's defense. No, not at all. It's completely consistent with the academic literature on how many women respond to disclosure of SV, especially when they have some relationship to a perpetrator. In case it's usual, this thread is now in article form. And it's in Harper, Bazaar, and it says, "Why are so many survivors supporting Depp?" I will link that article below as well as her Twitter thread so you all can check this out in entirety. Whew, I know, that's a lot. And this is pretty much based on what you guys feel, how you feel about this trial. Do you believe Amber? Do you believe Johnny? I see how Johnny is in this trial. I see how he comes off as a victim, where Amber does not really come off as a victim, and her stories don't match up with the lies that she's told. And she's very inconsistent. And I just feel like she set Johnny up in a way. And she is one of those women that was going to get him for every dollar he was worth and ruin his career. I don't know. That's my opinion, though. What do you guys think? With jury being out in deliberation and hopefully getting a jury's verdict very soon, I would love to hear what you guys think. Please let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree with Amber? Do you agree with Johnny? How do you feel about this situation? Do you understand what Nicole, the sociologist, was saying? Because there's a lot of things in that article that show a lot of points. And it was very interesting to read. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. It brought back a lot of great memories of being in sociology class, that's for sure. So I hope to hear from you guys in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. And remember, you're all entitled to your own opinion, no matter what. Don't let anyone take that opinion away from you. Please speak your mind. And also, check out the channel, Legal Vices. I will link it down below in the description. It's Legal Vices. He is one that has been a panelist on Rekieta Law, which I'll link him down below, that's been covering the Johnny Depp trial. I find him very amusing, very funny, and I love the way that he covers this case. So Legal Vices is an amazing channel. You should go subscribe to him and check him out. So I hope you all have a lovely day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later on. Have a great day, everybody.